Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We will finish chapter 4 today and perhaps start chapter 5 as well. Let us see how far we get. So let us start with the Mangalacharan prayers. And I will share my screen. These are in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita as it is in the introduction chapter. You can see my screen, I hope. Earlier, it used to show like a green border around my screen, but not anymore.
We can see, Prabhuji.
Okay, great. Okay. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale
Srimati
Swami
Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Chakarini Om Jnana Timirandascha Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa
Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuda Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Sri
Sri
Rupam
Rupam Sagrajatam
Sahagana
Sagana
Raghunathan Vitam Tam
Tam Jivitam
Advaitam
Advaitam
Savadhutam Parijana
Parijana Sahitam Krishna
Devam
Devam
Sri
Sri
Radha
Radha Krishna Pradhan Sahagana
Sri Vishakha
Lita
Vidamscha He Krishna
Krishna
Karuna
Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Gaurangi Radhe
Radha Vinde
Vrindavaswari
Vineshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyayevascha Patitanam Pavanebhyah Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Shri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita Gadadara Sri Vari Sri
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Sri Prabhupada.
Okay, so we will continue with chapter 4 and we will start with, so we are on chapter 4 and we completed till 4.33 and we have to start with 4.34. So till 4.33, Lord Krishna is explaining the what of Jnana Yoga. Now, Lord Krishna is going to explain in 4.34 the how. And how is by how of Jnana Yoga. How to obtain Jnana. How to get Jnana. And the answer is by the by approaching or by taking shelter of a guru or a spiritual master. That is the answer. So we will see text 4.34 and the importance of this text is the importance of guru. The importance of guru has already been very strongly emphasized in text number 2.7, where Lord Krishna actually begins to narrate or begins to give the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna when Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna and says that I have become your Shishya. Shishyaste aham. So, Mam Prapannam. So he says, I surrender to you. I am your Shishya now and I surrender to you. Somebody needs to mute. Okay. Kindly keep yourself muted. So, And that is when Lord Krishna begins to give the jnana of Bhagavad Gita. So that same concept of Guru Shishya Sambandha is coming up here as to how to get jnana is through Guru Shishya Sambandha. So the verse is Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattva Darshinaha. So how to get jnana from a jnani? Jnaninas Tattva Darshinaha. So you have to find a person who is Tattva Darshinaha, who has seen the truth. A jnani who has seen the truth. He is a guru. So a guru is not somebody who is just knowledgeable, but he has actually applied it. He has himself seen the truth, which means he has applied it. So that is the first point. Who is a guru? A guru is somebody who has applied this knowledge upon himself or herself. Now, guru need not only be male. There can be female gurus, no problem. In the Shastras, there have been many female gurus. So when I say he, it's just a matter of grammar. He or she, whatever. So they have seen the truth. And then there are three approaches. There are three attributes of a Guru Shishya Sambandha. How a Shishya should relate to a Guru. So the first one is, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena. So first of all, Tad Vidhi means to acquire knowledge or to acquire jnana or the understanding. The first step is Pranipatena. Pranipatena means by offering respect, by approaching. So first you have to approach and request. So that is the first step. Approach with a requesting or respectful attitude. That is called Pranipatena. So you have to approach the spiritual master or a guru who is a jnani, who has seen the truth, Tattva Darshinaha. You have to do Pranipatena. The second step, this is not in any sequence. So let me remove the numbers. Let me just put bullets. The second bullet is Pariprashnena. You have to ask questions. So this is another very important point, that in jnana, when we obtain jnana, you are not supposed to take anything on sort of as blind faith. You are always, the Shishya is always expected to Pariprashnena. How about this? Why that? And all of Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna asking questions from Lord Krishna. So there are 17 questions that Arjuna asks from Krishna in whole of Bhagavad Gita. There are 18 chapters, so average almost one question per chapter. Average, there are some chapters which has no questions and some chapters has more than one. But you can see here that Arjuna is not willing to just, if he doesn't understand something, he asks. We will see this hopefully today when we start 5th chapter. In the beginning of 5th chapter, Arjuna is seemingly still confused about Jnana Yoga versus Nishkama Karma Yoga. He says, Lord Krishna, I'm not yet clear. Please explain again. And then that is the whole response is chapter 5. So Arjuna is always asking questions. This is very, very important. We must also ask questions, but we cannot endlessly ask questions. This is the other important point. Otherwise, we'll always be a doubter. And this point is going to be explained right in the 4th chapter as we make some progress. Endless questioning. So ask questions, but not endlessly. This is very, very important. I will just give a very small example, like a doctor case. When a patient goes to see a doctor, he does some, let's say you have some, God forbid, some major disease, cancer treatment. You always go take second opinion. Maybe you take a third opinion also. You do your initial, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? You ask questions. Then you say, okay, I'm going to go with this doctor. Then no more questioning. Then you follow the treatment. You don't doubt every single decision made by the doctor. First, you do whatever clarification of doubts, etc., that you have to do. Then you put your faith in one path and move forward, or in one guru and move forward. That is the process. So it is very, very important that you ask questions. First of all, it means blind faith has no place in our Shastras. No blind faith. Okay, there are many misconceptions around this. Oh, Shastra means blind faith. Either my way or the highway. If you don't believe it, it's your problem, get out. That is never encouraged in our Vedic Shastras. We have to ask questions, but of course you have to ask questions to a proper person who can answer. So you have to find such a person. Okay, I am a software engineer, or not a software or whatever hardware engineer. You cannot come to me for doctor's advice. So my qualification does not exist. So I am not in that sense a Jnanina Tattvadarshina. You want to ask me about hardware, how computer chips work? I can answer. But you have to find the relevant person who can answer those questions and then ask them questions. So this is the second point. The third point is sevaya, seva, or service. So you have to serve the guru. You cannot not serve the guru. This concept does not exist in modern education at all. And this seva means that this questioning has to be submissive or humble. The questioning cannot be in an arrogant or a argumentative way. Today, you can say, some people can say, okay, we pay fees. My son goes to, a college where the fees is so high, $75,000 a year fees. So we can, every time, there was some laundry machine was not working. I was telling my son on the phone, he said, I could not wash clothes because laundry is not working. I said, I'm paying $75,000. They cannot even buy a laundry machine properly. Sometime, something else was not working. Every time the thought comes, I'm paying $75,000. They cannot even do this. So that arrogance comes. That is why Guru never asks for any money. It is always based on Guru Dakshina. After you have completed the education, you can give whatever you want, including nothing. Zero is also an option. So, but therefore, the student automatically develops a very humble attitude and he renders service to the guru. His service to the guru is his fees, but that service or seva also is voluntary. Guru doesn't demand, give me $75,000 as your seva. Okay, so the seva attitude, the seva bhav to a guru is very, very important. And when you please the guru, and of course, the guru also should not be, from his standpoint, hungry for seva. Oh, he has not done seva. Seva means voluntary. So when the guru is pleased with the seva, he gives more knowledge. He gives more knowledge. It's not like an exchange, but it's just a matter of heart. It's just a matter of pleasing the guru, and one gets a lot of knowledge. So these are the 3 points, 3 aspects of Guru, Shishya, or, spiritual master, disciple relationship. Very clearly, Lord Krishna has explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So, pranipatena, pariprashnena, sevaya. And when these 3 happen, what happens as a result? Upadekshanti te jnanam. They will give you upadesh. They will give you the transcendental knowledge of te jnanam, transcendental knowledge, the jnana. Then they will give if you do these 3 things. And who is the they? Jnaninas, that person who is a jnani and has seen the essence, seen the truth. So that is the topic of how. So very clearly, Lord Krishna is explaining what is the process to obtain jnana only through a guru. Because guru say you can do prashna from Shastra, just from a book. You can read from a book, you can say, but you cannot ask questions to a book. You cannot do seva to a book. You cannot approach a book. All these 3 can only be done with a live human being, a guru. So we have to approach a guru, and the guru's jnana is from the Shastra. But these three aspects are very, very essential to get the jnana. So that is the how. Now comes the final section of the Bhagavad Gita, which is of chapter 4, 35 to 38, which is the why. Why means why obtain jnana, the transcendental knowledge. And in other words, this can be thought of as the glories of jnana yoga. It is so glorious, it is so wonderful that you must perform jnana yoga. And which means, by the way, what is the why? Why do actions with knowledge? It's not just knowledge, it is actions with knowledge. This has been clarified in the beginning of the 4th chapter, not the beginning, but starting from verse number 16 onwards. 4.1 to 4.15 was Lord Krishna explaining his position, his own position, and Krishna Bhakti. 16 to 4.33 was the what is Jnana Yoga. And Jnana Yoga, Lord Krishna explains, is performing your duties with knowledge, with the knowledge that these duties I am performing are for a higher goal, are for a superior purpose. And that we have discussed already. So we discussed the what, we discussed the how, now the why. And that is 4.35 onwards. So why? Okay. So 4.35. Having obtained, let me just think whether I want to see go through the verse or yeah, I'll just read the translations to be quick. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall into such illusion. Never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but a part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. So you will see that we are, Lord Krishna says, Yena bhutani asheshani drakshyasi atmani yatho mayi. So that all these bhutani, all these jivas are in me, and they are in me and they are mine. Atmani atho mayi. They are in me and they are mayi. They are mine. So that is the knowledge. That is the jnana, that all living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna, are parts and parcels of the Supreme. So this knowledge can be obtained from a guru. Yad gyatva na punarmoham. So 2 points are coming up. Jnana eradicates the tendency to fall back into material consciousness. Just by doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, whatever karma you are doing at that point does not create entanglement. But when you do it with jnana, it removes the tendency to repeat that. And this will be covered in more detail in Nectar of Devotion, which is another different book. It is covered a little bit in the 5th chapter as well. And in the story of Ajamil that we are going through in the Bhagavatam classes, which happens on Saturday evenings, we will go into it in more detail, that when you do karma in a nishkama way, the tendency for sense enjoyment or for attachments is not completely eradicated. At that time, when you are doing nishkama karma yoga, there is no entanglement, you don't get any fruits, and it is completely liberating. However, the tendency to repeat that, to have attachment to the results, does not completely go away. That goes away only with jnana, because the root cause is ajnana. Anyway, that is a deeply conceptual topic. We will just leave it at that and move forward. So the concept here is jnana eradicates ignorance, which is kind of ignorance to perform activities for sense gratification. Not only are you performing the activities without sense gratification, you know why you are performing activities without sense gratification, without the desire for results. And when you know the why, then you are more motivated to not do so. So jnana is the opposite of ignorance. Obviously, jnana eradicates ignorance. Okay, 4.36. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. So this, the key concept, so this was one key concept here. The key concept in verse number 36 is that spiritual progress cancels, I should say, our material karma, which could be positive karma or negative karma, pious activities or sinful activities. All those are cancelled by spiritual progress. So that is why what is being said here is that even if you have done sinful activities in the past, if you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, sarvam jnana plavena iva. Plava means a boat. This word plava comes at many places in the Shastra. So in the boat of this transcendental knowledge, you can cross the ocean of miseries. Vrijinam santarishyasi. So you can cross this boat. So spiritual progress cancels our material karma. So various kinds of spiritual progresses are there. They all help to cancel the material karma. Now, the highest spiritual progress, by the way, what is the highest spiritual progress?
Bhakti.
Bhakti, very nice. I will put it a little bit differently here. Becoming dear to Krishna. That is the highest spiritual progress, becoming dear to Krishna. That is why the gopis are known as the highest devotees, because they are very, very, very dear to Krishna. And when one becomes dear to Krishna, then Krishna cancels all our karma. He says that in the very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita, which is 18.66. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam raja. Come to my sharan. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami. I will give you moksha from all your pap. Pap doesn't just mean sinful, it also means all the baggage, karmic baggage. So Lord Krishna is saying, I will just cancel it. He's like the president. However big criminal you may be, he can give a presidential pardon. With one stroke of the pen, everything is pardoned. So that is Krishna. So anyway, spiritual progress cancels material karma. This is the concept here. 4.37. Oh, we already did 37. That's correct. Oops. As a blazing fire turns firewood into ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So same concept. Takes too much time to write. Concept. Same concept. Jnana or in other words, spiritual progress. It's not just jnana. Any kind of spiritual progress burns karma or karmic reactions. All karmic reactions. Just like fire burns wood. That is the essence of this verse. Agnir bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. Agni bhasmasat. It makes bhasma. It bhasmasat kurute. So jnana agni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. Just like that, the jnana agni, the fire of knowledge, bhasmasat, it burns to ashes, sarva karmani, all the actions and reactions, all our karmic baggage is burnt by the jnana agni, the fire of jnana. Jnana agni, the fire of knowledge. So that is 4.37. So this is explaining the why we must pursue Jnana Yoga. Now, of course, in this chapter, once again, I will keep repeating till you are bored completely, that Jnana Yoga is just a spiritual progress. That is not the highest understanding of Bhagavad Gita. It is Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti. That also, whatever is said here about Jnana Yoga completely applies to Bhakti as well. Okay, next 4.38. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. So Lord Krishna says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. There is nothing as pavitra, as pure, as sublime, as sanctified as jnana. Jnanena sadrisham. Sadrisham means in comparison to. There is nothing as more pavitra. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within him in the due course of time. So a very key concept is coming up here as well. So let me read the Sanskrit for you. Please, like I say in the beginning of every class, have your book with you, open, following the verses, sometimes the Sanskrit as I read it, because we go into the Sanskrit many times. So please have the book or the website vedabase.io open and follow it. So the first two lines of this verse are Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate, that there is nothing as sublime, as pure as jnana. Tat swayam yoga samsiddhim kalena atmani vindati. So a key concept here is that this manifests, or the progress, the spiritual progress in Jnana Yoga process occurs by Swayam Yogam, by our own practice, by our own strength. And it takes time. Swayam Yogam, Kalena Atmani Vindati. Over time, Kalena, Kala means time. Kalena Atmani Vindati. One becomes self-situated and enjoys the fruit of Jnana Yoga. The fruit of Jnana Yoga means the spiritual fruit, the bliss, the moksha. Kalena, in due course of time. After, I will translate it, or like I will just emphasize it by saying after a long time, one gets the result of Jnana Yoga. So what is the key concept here? There are two sort of sub-concepts. The first one is that it occurs by Swayam Yogam. Swayam Yoga, everybody understands what is Swayam. Swayam means one's own effort. So point number one, by one's own effort, Lord Krishna is saying. And the second one is takes a long time. So this is the warning Lord Krishna is giving, that this process of Jnana Yoga is not recommended. And where he says that, or where is this more clearly mentioned? Obviously, it has to be in Bhakti. In the Bhakti section, 7.19. Let us quickly go to 7.19 and see what Lord Krishna says about all the Jnanis. Very, very important verse. Chapter 7, verse number 19. What does Lord Krishna say here? Bahunam janmanam ante. After many, bahunam means bahut. Bahut means many. Janmanam ante. Endless. Ante means endless. Janma. After so many janmas, Jnanavan, these Jnanis, Mam prapadyate, they surrender to me. Now, Mam is very clear to Krishna. Prapadyate is surrender. What yoga is this signifying? Mam prapadyate. It is signifying Bhakti Yoga. Because in Bhakti, we surrender to Krishna. So Lord Krishna is saying, after so many births of doing Jnana or spent in Jnana Yoga, finally one comes to the stage of Bhakti. So what is being shown here is that it takes a long time and it produces result by one's own effort, which means there is no external help. In contrast to Bhakti Yoga, over here, I will abbreviate Bhakti Yoga as BY. Okay, Bhakti Yoga is BY. Krishna helps the bhaktas immensely. So they are not on their own. This is the big advantage of bhakti. In Jnana Yoga process, you are on your own, but in Bhakti Yoga process, you have tremendous support of Krishna. Lord Krishna is hinting on that, Swayam Yogam. In Bhakti section, he will never say that. On the contrary, he will say that I carry him. Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham. Vahami. 9.22, he will say Vahami, Vahan. Vahan means carrier. Vahami Aham. I carry them. I become the vehicle. Bhaktas sit on top of the vehicle and I carry them. It is like a grandfather and the grandson is sitting on the grandfather and saying, Dadaji, you carry me. So Dadaji is, putting the grandson on his shoulders and taking him for a walk. So the child is happy. Like that, Krishna becomes the carrier. So that is that is one of the aspects of Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is very quickly we attain the love of Krishna. And this is given in 8.14. Chapter 8, verse 14. We will not go into the details, otherwise we will not finish the chapter. But you can look at it. And also in 12.6, that is another 12.6, 12.7, Lord Krishna says, Na chirat. Let me just quickly show you. I'm kind of tempted to show you. 12.6 and 7, Na chirat. Where is that? Bhavami na chirat partha. Mai aveshita chetasam. Very quickly, and once we get to chapter 12 and all that, you will see. Na chirat. Chira means, they say chiranjeevi, no? Chiranjeevi means long life. So chira means long time. So na chira means not a long time, which means short time. So this is a verse from the Bhakti Yoga section, and Lord Krishna is saying the result of bhakti is very quick compared to all the other processes. Okay, so these are very two key concepts in 4.38. Lord Krishna is giving the warning sign. This is your, so to say, your red flag verse, so to say. This is your red flag about Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Swayam yogam, tat swayam yoga samsiddham. So Swayam yoga, kalena atmani vindati. Takes time, kalena atmani vindati. He gets the success or the enjoyment over time. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, 39. So 39 to 40, Lord Krishna is coming back and talking about a pitfall. Remember, we talked about the what, how, why, and a pitfall, the key pitfall. So this was from, I don't remember, 4.20 to 33. This was 34. This was 35 to 38. And this is 39 and 40. A key pitfall. And this pitfall is related to that aspect of endless questioning or endless doubting. Pariprashnena sevaya. Pariprashnena is a good thing, but not endlessly. I had told you that. That concept is coming up here, endless doubting. So here the pitfall is do not doubt Krishna's words. And when we say Krishna's words, we can say Guru's words. Now, Guru must always teach Krishna's words. Guru cannot be misaligned. So you must read both. Like I think I said in this class only, I do these other classes and all that. I don't remember. In a university, the professor has to teach from a textbook. He may not actually hold the textbook, but if he says a formula and writes the formula on the blackboard, you should be able to find the same formula in the textbook. Okay? If a teacher writes E equals MC squared in the, or let's say, if in the textbook it says E equals MC squared, teacher cannot write E equals MC cubed. That will be wrong. He may not use the textbook all the time, but the formulas have to be the same. So the knowledge has to be the same as in the textbook. There has to be a supporting textbook. Otherwise, teacher can say, you know what, last night I was sleeping and God came in my dreams and he said E equals MC cubed. So from today onwards, I am teaching you E equals MC cubed. That doesn't work like that. So the Guru has to teach everything in alignment with the Shastra. So therefore, we must not doubt Guru's words or Shastra's words, and we must know both. Okay, so 4.39, pitfall. And the pitfall is regarding doubting Shastras. श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम तत्परः संयत इंद्रियः ज्ञानम लब्ध्वा पराम शांतिम अचिरेण अधिगच्छति. So Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. A Shraddha person, a person with Shraddha, labhate jnanam. Labhate means usko labh hota hai. He gets the benefit. Labh means benefit or profit. So he gets the benefit of the knowledge by his Shraddha without endless doubting. Tat paraha samyata indriyaha. And like that, he is able to control his senses. So it is accompanied by action. Knowledge should lead to action. Jnanam ladbha param shantim. Having obtained this knowledge, he gains param shantim, transcendental peace, spiritual peace. Achirena adhigacchati. And like this, he quickly makes progress. So 4.40 is a continuation of the same thought. So the 4.39 was of the doubt-free person. 1 second. Okay. So 4.40 is talking about a doubting person, the opposite. So the first one was a doubt-free person. This is a doubting person. Agyascha ashraddhadanascha. So this is agyascha ashraddhadhana, one who is without shraddha, doubt. Without shraddha means with doubts. And without agyascha, one who is a fool or a ignorant person. Samshaya atma vinashyati. He's always doing samshaya. Samshaya means what? Many of you, I hope, understand these words, right? Samshaya means doubts. He's constantly in doubts, always doubting. Samshaya atma vinashyati. And what happens to him? Vinashyati. He's destroyed. Nayam loko asti na paro na sukham samshaya atmanaha. Nayam loko asti na paro. That means in this loka, in this planet, or na paraloka, in any planet, nowhere. Somebody should mute. Okay. In this loka or in paraloka or any planet, na sukham sanshaya atmanaha. To a sanshaya atma. Samshaya atma means a doubting soul, permanently doubting person. Na sukham, he never gets any peace. Whereas in the previous verse, what is Lord Krishna saying? Jnanam labdva param shantim. So a contrast is there. One gets shanti, the one who is hearing or following Lord Krishna's words or the Guru's words with faith. The other one is na sukham sanshayatmanaha, one who is a sanshayatma. Samshaya atma means a constantly doubting person. No happiness anywhere. No happiness anywhere in this planet or any other planet. Okay. Nayam loko asti na paro. Nowhere, at no place he gets any happiness. So that is the pitfall. The big pitfall is about doubting. That is your pitfall. Endless doubting, I will say. You have to contrast this with pariprashnena. Not blind faith, but limited. You ask questions and then you acquire faith. It's your job to quickly acquire faith and move forward. Human life is so small. Constantly you are doubting. What's the point? So many people I have met, or few people I have met, they say, oh, 5 years I followed this process, 10 years I did this, then 7 years I was doing Buddhism, then I was doing this, I went to this other place, I got read this. So what is the end philosophy that you are trying? Oh, I'm still searching. And they are like 75 years old. So constant searching, then that is not good. You have to find a path and stick to it. Otherwise, like a cancer patient, you will always keep getting opinions, but never get any therapy. So you'll become very knowledgeable about all the various therapies, but your cancer will not go away. What's the point? So this constant doubting is not a good thing. So 41 and 42 is conclusion. What is the conclusion? Conclusion is that yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchina samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhnanti dhananjaya. So 41 says yoga sanyasta karmanam, by renouncing the karmas, yoga sanyasta, by this action coupled with jnana. Nishkama karma yoga plus jnana. That is yoga sannyasta. Now, Arjuna is going to ask a question about this in the next chapter, which we will start today since we have time. But the essence of Jnana Yoga, as Lord Krishna has already explained, is not just Jnana and giving up all kinds of activities. Even though Lord Krishna has said in a few places, like giving up breathing, eating, there are some sacrifices like that. Last week, we talked about various levels of sacrifices. When you are not even eating, breathing, drinking, are you doing any activity? Then you are pretty much like a statue in that samadhi state. But that is not recommended. So Lord Krishna is saying that Nishkama Karma Yoga, you have to do your activity, but with the knowledge as to why you are doing it in a Nishkama way. Not just doing it because somebody has said, or because you are so happy because you do it. You must understand the why, the what, how, and why. All those things you must understand. That becomes Jnana with Nishkama Karma Yoga. That is what Lord Krishna is saying. Yoga Sannyasta Karmanam. That is the essence of Yoga Sannyasta Karmanam. Jnana Sanchina Sanshayam. With Jnana, by this Jnana, Sanchina. Sanchina means to cut. Samshayam. Whatever doubts you have, cut the doubts. We just talked about the topic of doubts. Atmavantam na karmani nibadhnati sanjaya dhananjaya. That like this, you will never be nibadhnanti. Nibadhnanti means never be entangled in the fruits or in the positive or negative karmic reactions. That is the goal of spiritual progress, to not be entangled in karmic reactions. Because once you are free from karmic reactions, that is the state of moksha, liberation from this material world. Okay, so you must eliminate your doubts. Nishkama Karma Yoga plus eliminate doubts. And like this, become disentangled from material world, which means moksha. So that is 41. And 42, what is Lord Krishna saying? Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hrit sthitam jnana asina atmanaha chitva enam samshayam yogam atishto uttishta bharata. So, therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed with the weapon of knowledge. Again, Lord Krishna is saying, slash it with the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. So, similar concept, that do this plus stand and fight. So, armed with this, treat the fighting, the stand and fight, treat this as your Nishkama Karma Yoga. Not because you will gain victory, not because you will be praised like a very good warrior, not for any of those reasons. Just as a Nishkama, no reasons at all. And knowing that you have to do your duty, and your duty is to fight, so do the fighting because it is your duty, but not for any other reason. With that knowledge, do it in a Nishkama way. So Nishkama, knowing why it is Nishkama, do your activity. And Arjuna is doing all the three things as well. He has a guru. He approached Lord Krishna. First, he was crying. If you look at the first chapter, he was crying. His arms were shaking. He's such a great warrior. He has defeated Indra also in battle. He has defeated big people. And now his arms are shaking. And then he surrenders to Krishna. So he has approached Pariprashnena. He is asking questions. And he is doing seva to Krishna as well. He has done seva to Krishna all along his life. So he is a perfect student. So with all that process, Lord Krishna is saying, armed with this process, stand and fight. So that is the end of chapter 4. Okay. So we are done with chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. Now, let us see if there are, it is 7:22. So we have 1 hour, more than 1 hour left. So we will start chapter 5. Are there any questions? Please raise your hands. I don't see anything in the chat. If not, we will start with chapter 5. Okay. Somebody has unmuted. I suppose it is for a question or by mistake. Okay. Okay, so let us start chapter 5. So what I am going to do now, just for the sake of the video recording, I will stop the recording here and I will restart the recording. We will do the Mangalacharan again. So it will be like a fresh video recording, which I will post on the YouTube. So please bear with me. Don't log out. We will have like a 5-minute break in that sense. No break, but we'll just stop recording and do Mangalacharan again after recording again. So I will stop sharing. So we come to the conclusion of chapter 4.